Welcome to Conversation with Buddy. I'm your host, Buddy Puckett. Hey, thank you so much for being here this week. I am really, really, really grateful for you, and just thankful that you guys come out each week to hear stories of people in our community. And by the way, if you are watching this on YouTube, and I hope that you are, would you mind just hitting that subscribe button if you have not yet done so? Also, if you could share this with maybe 10 people, friends, family, coworkers, somebody who needs to be encouraged, if it's inspired you. So that's the whole goal. This morning I have a really cool guest. He's a young guy. We've never met in person before, but I love young people coming on here to share their story. So this morning, let me introduce you to a guy named Kyle Greeley. Welcome, Kyle.
Thanks for having me, buddy. Even though we don't know each other, the chemistry is already there because we're already twinning.
Come on, man.
We're twinning.
We are twinning, man. I love that. Well, you and I had some brief conversation before the podcast, so let's just kind of. I like you, Kyle. I don't know much about you. I do get to meet with Jeff. I guess you'd call him your stepdad.
Yep, my stepdad.
Yeah, Jeff Morgan. So we meet basically every week, have for 7 or 8 years, and so he thinks very highly of you and loves you a lot, man. So yeah. Just want to pass it on to you.
I appreciate that. Yeah, Jeff's a great guy. Those are kind words.
Yeah. Well, this is going to be a really fun podcast. One thing I noticed when I asked you to send me over some things about you, here's what I noticed. Well, first of all, I know you're a professional basketball player, and that's really cool, by the way.
Yeah, appreciate that.
But the very first thing you said is, I'm a Christian.
Yeah.
So let's unpack that real quick. What does that mean to be a Christian? And then what are the challenges with, being a faith-based guy in this world? Tell me.
Yeah, I think being a Christian is the purpose of life. And I probably haven't fully realized that until just this year. The challenges with that is we live in a society now where sometimes proclaiming your faith in public isn't always accepted. So I think now that I've become 25 and finally growing into that, just being confident. Like I got a necklace that has a cross on it, right under this actually. And I just try like little things like that just to keep it out to little things. I even got recognized for that the other day, just wearing my cross. Someone was like, hey, I appreciate that. We need more of that. So I think the challenges is just being public about it. I've been a Christian for a long time, but have been a reserved Christian, I guess, like keeping it to myself. So, even this year overseas, my goal has been to figure out how God's trying to use basketball to allow me to share faith with other people through the root of basketball and being more public with that.
Dude, well said. So go back real quick. You said you've been a Christian for a long time. How do you know?
Well, I was 6 years old. I was sitting on the couch with my dad, and it's one of those things like he told me when I was young, whenever you're ready, say it. You know what I mean? Because if I'm 4 and he was like, hey, we're going to make Kyle a Christian,
yeah,
it's not coming from me,
That's right.
So when I was 6, I remember it vividly, just sitting on the couch, the same prayer. I could probably even recite the exact prayer. And I accepted Jesus at that moment. Now you're going to have rocky moments all the way up through college.
You mean life's not perfect?
Yeah, exactly.
Come on, man, what?
And you figure that out. You think when you accept Jesus that, things are perfect, but they're just not.
Yeah.
But yeah, I accepted Jesus when I was 6, got baptized, I think when I was 9. And even went through that whole time, you feel the Holy Spirit's presence. Even if you're not where you want to be in your walk with Christ, God's always with you.
Dang, man. Being a young guy, so you're 25. I always tell the story, and it's not about me, but I grew up in church and I knew about Christ, but I was 28 before I became a believer, and I didn't know any Bible verses. What was maybe one of the first Bible verses that you remember memorizing?
Oh, obviously John 3:16 was the first one I remember, but
yeah.
The one that I have tattooed on my chest that's probably the most meaningful is just Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you hope in the future. So that's probably the verse that I lean on the most now.
Well, dude, this is crazy. So we're going to dive in a little bit, but you've been overseas for the last, 9 months?
9, yeah.
What did that verse mean to you? Because now you're away from family. You're a man, right? You're 25.
Yeah.
You're not just, a kid who's fresh out of high school or college, but you are a young man. What was that like? What were the temptations being away? Even though you have that Bible verse, you know truth.
Yeah.
What are the struggles?
Well, I think, just the end of that, plans to give you hope in the future. I'd had this dream of being a pro basketball player my whole life. And so living it, it's like I'd never reach a peak where I want to be. I don't think we should ever be complacent.
Yeah, amen.
But I feel like I'm in the heart of doing what God has called me to do. The challenges are just being alone out there, which I also would say that's the strength, though, because you have nothing but time. So if you're not getting close with God out there, it's just you out there, you know what I mean? So this was why this year was big for me, because I had a lot of time to just reflect on my own life, figure out who I am, who's God, or who God has called me to be. Because, I have practices in the morning, but then around from noon to 7, I got nothing. It's not like college where you have class. After practice, you got nothing. So it's just a bunch of time where I was really able to journal and get in the scripture and just, listen to God more than ever.
Sounds like you really grew up a lot. Not that you weren't already fairly mature.
Oh, yeah. I asked my parents that day, or my brother. He might say I'm the most annoying kid that he's ever been around.
Say that again. You say he thinks you're the most...
annoying kid that he's ever been around.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. No, I've done some growing up.
Okay, good. That's so good, man. Well, it takes hard times to shape us in God. If you take an easy road, then there's no real shaping there. It's just easy. But when you really have to get on your knees and pray and trust the Lord that He's got a plan for your life, that's different.
Yeah.
It takes purpose and courage and boldness and focus. Man, so...
I mean, I've realized even when you're a Christian, being a lukewarm Christian, it's tough to... Even though you believe, if you want a relationship with Jesus, if you're not pursuing Him, it's hard to hear His voice. So sometimes when you're like, man, I don't know, if it's God real, is He talking to me? And then you got to look back and be like, hey, am I in the Word? Am I investing into Him? Because then you start reading verses where it's like, Jesus is literally saying, if you come to me, I will reveal myself. But it's got to be a choice, you got to want to do that. You got to want to dive into Him.
Yeah. Well, I think sometimes for me, like when I go on vacation with my wife or I'm away from home, I don't care if it's work, vacation, it's kind of like God. I hear God more clearly when I'm away. I think there's a lot of noise when we're at home. We have a lot of pressures, to maybe do what the family's doing. So I think for you being away, probably it exposed you for, okay, Kyle, who are you? You're all alone. Who are you going to be?
Yeah.
And you could probably do a million things. I mean, it's good. It's scary, but I think if you choose the right road, your growth could be really awesome.
And it wasn't always easy, but, and it's going to be a consistent process. It can't just be 1 year of, hey, I'm here, Jesus, now, and then next year fall away. But yeah.
Well, it's kind of like golf, isn't it? You have a great golf game yesterday, so today's a new day.
Well, I don't know if I've ever had a great golf game. I told you I love golf.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at it. And golfing, with Jeff, when I'm down here at Illahee, is probably the worst thing for me, even though he's like, dude, let's go have fun. I'm like, when I'm 45 over par, it's tough to have fun.
That's hard. It's hard to have fun. It's a humbling game for sure. But yeah, golf's the same way. I mean, just because you have a good game yesterday or even a good shot, doesn't mean your score is going to reflect well.
Right, exactly.
So, yeah, you're right. The Christian life isn't like, I'll accomplish it, I'm good. No, it's that sanctification part where there's growth. I don't care how old you are. There's always room to improve. And God's always honing you and calling you to, whatever it is He wants you to do.
Yeah.
So, hey, let's dive in deep now. We kind of talked about some fun stuff, but we're going to dive a little bit deeper. Take us back to the very beginning. Where were you born? What were your parents like early on? I know you have a brother and a sister.
And a sister, yep.
Right?
Yep.
And are you youngest or middle?
I'm the youngest.
You're the youngest.
Yeah.
You're the baby.
Yeah, I'm the baby.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Okay. Take us through, again, where you're born, what your parents were like, how do they impact you, stuff like that.
Yeah. Born in Salem, Oregon. Well, actually, I think they had to rush me to the Silverton Hospital last second, but I go Salem. Because,
whatever,
I grew up with two great parents, loving parents, nothing but love. grew up going to church down at Salem First Baptist.
Yeah.
Grew up with a brother. My sister was older at the time, so she was leaving the house at 18, I think, when I was 5.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And yeah, we had a great upbringing. My parents divorced when I was 13, I believe, going into 8th grade, which is always difficult. But yeah, that's kind of my story, at least for that part. Yeah.
So what are some lessons from your dad and mom growing up? What are some great lessons that you learned from them? Because I know your mom and dad have an impact. Yeah, parents aren't perfect, by the way.
Yeah.
And so there's no judgment, right? Just what are some of the good takeaways that you took away from your dad? I mean, I heard you earlier saying your dad asked you, hey, when do you want to accept Jesus?
Yeah.
You tell me when you're ready. And I love that.
Yeah.
But tell me more.
They both had a drive and a work ethic that, I was able to I didn't pick that up until I got to college. I didn't really realize it, how hard and invested they were in parenting, how hard they worked, even to put food on the table. And, my dad was very loving too, but my mom was really, I think that's what moms are for though. They're there to love. They're there to, to comfort you. And so, just a lot of love. My mom's still my role model to this day. Her walk with Christ, even my dad's walk with Christ to this now is really great, because as a kid, you want to look up to your parents.
Sure.
You got no direction when you're young. So how your parents raise you is kind of your baseline on what to go off of.
Yeah. Well, like I said, our parents aren't perfect, but I love that your mom and dad had a major impact in your life.
Yeah.
And good or bad, I think we can still learn the lessons that God wants us to learn. So being the youngest of your siblings, what's the age difference between you and Caleb?
18 months.
Oh, you guys are close.
Yeah.
So your mom and dad had your oldest sister.
No, my mom had my sister when she was younger, not with my dad.
So she's your half sister.
Yeah, technically.
Okay.
To me, full sister, but yeah.
No, I get that.
sister.
I get that. You accept her as your full sister.
Yeah.
I get that. Okay. And then, are you close with her?
Very close. Yeah,
That's
I was
so sweet.
just at her house yesterday.
No kidding.
Spending time with my nieces and nephews. And
Uncle Kyle.
Yeah, Uncle Kyle.
How's that feel?
It's great. It's cool to see my nieces look at me in a way now where they look up to me, and just seeing them kind of going through some of the same things that I did.
Yeah.
And, I always feel like I'm young, but I got to forget that I am in a role now where, now I can give advice, and now I can kind of play that uncle role rather than them just being young and playing around.
Yeah.
They're becoming old now, 13 and 14 years old. So,
question, how tall is Caleb? Is he tall?
he is. Yeah, he's probably 6'3".
Okay.
I'd say
I've never met Caleb yet. So
Oh, no?
Yeah. How tall are you?
I say 6'5" just with basketball shoes, but probably 6'4". 6'4".
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's probably medium height with all the guys you play with?
Oh, yeah. No, I'll walk around here and I'll be like, hey, you're tall. I'm a short guy on my team.
You're a short guy, and that interesting.
Yeah, with 7-footers, 6'5" is not as relevant.
Yeah. Totally interesting, man. Okay, so you grew up in Salem. You went to West
Salem High School,
Salem High School. What sports did you play besides obviously basketball?
Yeah, I grew up, I played everything. Just like, most parents.
Yeah.
My parents were like, hey, we'll put you in a bunch of different sports.
Yeah.
Figure it out. Tried baseball. I don't know if you remember Double A. Double A is the one where it's the pitching machine where you just drop it in. It comes right down the pipe every time.
Oh, yeah.
I struck out of an entire game doing that. And then to the flip of that, when you play defense, they want me out in outfield, left field. No balls are coming out there.
Ever.
I'm just twiddling my thumbs. I'm like, I don't think the sport's for me. I got too much energy. I'm not good at it. Grew up playing soccer.
Mm-hmm.
We were at this field where there was this fence line behind the goal. Right. The goal was in the middle. And my grandpa had taken me to this game, and I was going the length of the field, and I just kicked it to the right to hit the fence because I thought that was the goal. And after the game, he came up to me and he was like, hey, son, the goal is in the middle. I was like, I don't understand this. I can't try that. And then obviously basketball I fell in love with that probably right at 5 years old. After, I was the kid and Upward, I think, was at Salem First Baptist
Yeah,
back in the
my
day.
daughters played Upwards.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that though, you got to guard your color. I didn't like that. If red's guarding red, I wanted to go steal the ball from green, but they were like, Kyle, you can't do that. So
Well, that's just, yeah, that's
I
hard.
picked up the game at a young age, and just really fell in love with it. And ever since then, I kind of stuck with it. I tried football in 6th grade, which my mom thinks I was a great quarterback. But I didn't love the rain or practices that much to
miserable.
continue to pursue it. I liked the warm gyms and getting up and down.
Yeah. That's funny. I did lots of sports too, but yeah, you always basically acclimate to one that you fall in love with. So, okay, so at West, what did you guys in basketball? Would you guys ever end up being like state champions or?
We got to the state tournament my junior and senior year. Sophomore year, we were one game behind. We had really great teams. We just could never win a state championship. But people don't understand winning the whole state. I mean, it's tough to do. You can have a great team and sometimes just not be lucky or the ball's not bouncing your way in a certain game. We never won the league, the GVC at the time, which I wish that we could have just because we had such great teams. But yeah, those are some fun years.
Who was your toughest competition in town?
Ooh, probably McNary.
McNary.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I actually think I have a losing record versus. I actually don't even know if we beat McNary.
No way.
They were always a tough team. Played hard. They always had the skill to back it up. Yeah, probably McNary. Sprague and South were always tough too, though.
Mm-hmm. When did you start on varsity?
I played varsity my sophomore year. I was coming off the bench. Freshman year, I played freshman with all my best friends too, which was a fun year.
Right.
At the time, as a freshman, because all my AAU guys were at Sprague and they were all starting varsity as freshmen.
Oh, no kidding.
And they're like, "Hey, Kyle, we want you to play freshman to start." So at the time, I was like, "Man, I want to play varsity."
Yeah.
And you realize there's levels to climb. Even when I got to Division I, there's levels to climb, and that ended up being one of my most fun years of basketball because I'm with all my best friends growing up through middle school. And I think we went 23-0, just murdering every team.
Murder. Okay. We're going to take us into college. So where did you initially go to college at?
I went to Portland State out of high school.
Yeah.
Had a few Division I offers out of high school, but I wanted to stay close to home.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Went there for 3 years and then transferred over to St. Martin's because my best friend Tyke was there, and that was always a dream of ours to play college basketball together.
Right.
And then it was an opportunity. Once I got to my third year at Portland State, I was like, okay, let's make this switch. It was the most fun 3 years I've ever had playing basketball.
At Portland State?
At St. Martin's.
Oh, at St. Martin's.
Yeah.
Gotcha. St. Martin's. Gotcha. Yeah. Okay, so Portland State, St. Martin's. Where exactly is St. Martin's again?
In Lacey, Washington.
Okay, just right off the freeway.
Yeah, right
It's
there.
easy.
Yeah, my parents were coming to most every game. It was far enough where I could get away from home, but also, 2.5 hours with no traffic.
Yeah.
So right there.
Let's go back just a little bit. So mom and dad went through a divorce when you were 13.
Yep.
And again, I always say, no marriage is perfect, and nobody gets married thinking, hey, we're going to get divorced one day. It does happen.
Yeah.
What were the lessons that maybe you learned through that? I mean, I'm sure it was difficult. What have you learned since then to realize, oh, we're all human?
Yeah.
And thinking about, one day you getting married too. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, you do forget sometimes that this is their first time doing life too. First time being parents, first time being married. And, I've realized that the older I've gotten. The lessons with divorce, that's tough. I think finding an outlet as early as possible, someone to talk to, because when you're young, you're not mature enough yet, so sure. I had a mom who was extremely loving. Like I said, my role model to this day. When that divorce happened, she spent the next 7 years, I want to say, not dating a single guy, just diving into her relationship with Jesus, working till 7 p.m., coming home, cooking dinner, in the heart of going through a divorce too. Yeah. And so I didn't realize the lessons with divorce, I think, until I got to college and started to reflect. And so, just, yeah, my mom going through that stage. Now I look at her, I tell her all the time, you're my role model.
That's so sweet.
And
dude.
no one's perfect.
Yeah.
And divorce is just, it's not great. And even now to this day, my dad's my best friend. So
That's so good, man.
I got both parents who impact my life in different ways. But even when I was over in Spain, my dad would wake up at 4:30 a.m. every morning before work, and we would hop on Xbox. I don't even love playing Xbox,
But hang out with your dad.
but that was our way to bond
so cool.
and play PGA golf.
That's funny, man.
Yeah, and now he's gotten better than me. At first, he was terrible, and now he's been practicing, and now I can't even play with him anymore.
Yeah, that's right. Is your dad local here in Salem, or
No, he moved to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
Lives in Coeur d'Alene.
Yeah.
What a beautiful place.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, I go out there in 2 weeks, actually, to go
Yeah.
see him. So.
You better bring your sticks out there, man.
Yeah, I know. We got a golf trip planned. It'll be a great time.
Man. Gosh, so much to pack. Did you ever experience any bitterness while mom and dad were going through divorce? Like, again, not to expose, but again, you don't seem bitter today. You seem very joyful and happy, and I believe that. But I mean, a lot of kids who go through divorce, I'm sure there's maybe it's blame yourself, bitterness or whatever. What was that like?
Yeah, that's a tough question. Because I have a very positive outlook on life now. I think in the bitter moments, you don't realize you're being bitter. So I hid that as well as possible because I was with 10 friends every weekend. Basketball kind of got my mind off everything.
Yeah.
So that's why I say that the lessons with divorce, I would say any kid going through that or even parents, when you bundle it up or you try to hide it and pretend like you don't feel a certain way, that might be the worst thing you can do because now, I'm going seven years of my life not figuring out this stuff till I'm 20. And yeah, I want to say that's probably the worst thing that you can do is keep it inside. So I don't think I knew I was being bitter, but I knew I wasn't happy in the moment. I just hid it very well. And especially basketball, I had that to just lean on. And, I never lost sight of still wanting to become a professional basketball player. And I think that's kind of just playing basketball was what got me through that.
How did you know, or when did you know you want to become a pro basketball player? And why?
Ooh, when did I know? I would say it was my dream when I was probably 9 or 10 years old. Like I knew that's what I wanted to do. I don't think it became a reality until I got my first Division I offer as a sophomore. I think I was just 16.
Seriously?
And I was in an AAU tournament, and I'm kind of right at this point where coaches can't really talk to you until like this next month. But usually you got to be good enough for a coach to talk to you as a 16-year-old, especially Division I.
Yeah.
And I remember Seattle U, their assistant was watching one of my games, and then he came up to me after, and he was like, "Hey, we want you to come to this elite camp." So I came to the elite camp and played really well. And Cameron Dollar was the coach at that time. He was at UCLA, won a championship back in the day. And after camp, he was like, "Hey, Kyle, can you and your dad stick around for 20 minutes?" And I was like, "Hey, Dad, is this the moment? Like, am I getting a scholarship?" And he was like, "Son, I don't want you to get your hopes up. Like, he probably just wants to talk to you." Sure enough, right after that, he's like, "Kyle, we want to offer you a full ride scholarship to play basketball here."
Come on.
And so I think that was when, after that, I was like, okay, my dream can become a reality now, and I can play at a level where I know it's possible now.
Yeah. I was looking at your Facebook profile just because I really didn't know you. I'm like, I didn't know what you looked like. And you had a picture of you and Gary Payton way back in the day.
Oh,
dude, I mean, what a beast, man.
I loved, that's what I'm saying, just basketball in general.
Yeah.
I loved getting autographs as a kid, loved meeting any NBA player I could.
Come on.
I was probably bugging these guys to take photos. I think Gary Payton was just there watching the Blazers game, and I saw him on the Megatron.
Come on, man.
And I went down, I was like, "Can I get a picture?"
That's so cool.
I went to the All-Star weekend in 2014, so I just loved NBA. I loved being around.
Did you have a particular basketball player that you follow? Like, you love them all, but there's the one that you like, that's who I want to be.
Brandon Roy, I don't know if you remember him, but
Brandon Roy,
he was he was on the Blazers, I think, when I was around probably 7 to 11 years old. And I watched his highlights every day after school, watched every single Blazer game. And so he was kind of like the reason where I was like, wow, I love basketball. He was so fun to watch for me. And that was kind of, my favorite player growing up.
Interesting. Well, you were obviously a Blazer fan.
Oh, yeah. It's hard to be a Blazer fan now, though. But,
it's difficult.
I still am.
You weren't alive when, the names like Clyde the Glide and, the Blazers of the 80s and
Right.
early 90s.
Oh, my dad still tells me in that 2000 series, I think, against the Lakers, it was Game 7, or Blazers were up 15 against Shaq and Kobe, and he still remembers that game. And the Lakers came all the way back. Kobe throws the lob to Shaq, and then the Lakers go on to win the finals.
Totally, yeah. Lakers are always a hard team to beat, for sure. Good game to watch, though.
Oh, yeah.
I like Michael Jordan. I like, Clyde Drexler. I really enjoyed Kobe Bryant.
Oh, yeah.
His style is so interesting because when you watch a professional like him, he could be on the it's kind of resting in his corner, but when he gets the ball, it's go time.
Yeah.
He's relaxed and it's go. I'd call it relaxed intensity. Something I heard growing up. I was a wrestler, so I wrestled in college for a couple of years, and so relaxed intensity is you relax until it's go time, and that was Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
So again,
no, Kobe was a big one for me too.
Yeah, and not a huge Laker fan necessarily, but look, I like to follow players, whether it's Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes or whoever. I just love to see excellence.
And you see what makes great players great and what makes them separate. And Kobe was one of those guys with just an unwavering confidence and mentality that a lot of players can't even match to this day.
Unwavering confidence, and what'd you say?
What did I say? Unwavering confidence and mentality.
Besides that, what are some other character traits that you see in people you've followed or maybe who you want to become? What's that look like?
Yeah, I think it's that confidence, and that confidence comes from their preparation. Because if you look at anyone that's great, your talent can only get you to a certain level. And so even NBA players that are so skilled and so gifted athletically, the great ones that are able to separate, you just see how hard they work and how much they just dive into their profession or what it is they want to be great at, and not letting anything else get in the way of that.
Yeah.
And that's why they're so confident, because they know they've put in the work, you know what I mean? And so that's what I've tried to start learning how to adapt. And it took me to get to college to really learn what it means to work.
Yeah.
And let that show the results, because it's not just a coincidence.
Well, Kobe, he would just do 1 or 2 practice a day. He learned that if he could add one more practice and pretty soon he's getting up at 4 a.m. and 4 to 6 and 8 to 10 and 12 to 2 and 4 to 6, that extra practice that you would do, because I think we get good in things and then we rest on our laurels and we never really mature. So it's kind of like being a Christian.
Yeah.
The question is, I've been a Christian for 25 or 30 years, or have I been a Christian 1 year 25 times? Have you ever heard that before?
No, I haven't. That's really good.
I think for me personally, that's the question I have to ask myself, because I see a lot of guys. That's why I meet with guys, because I need to be challenged and I need to show up. I need to make sure I'm in my reading my Bible. I'm praying. I'm loving my little wife.
Yeah.
I'm doing the things. That's why Jeff and I meet.
Yeah.
Are we a Christian 1 year 25 times, or actually are we a 25-year veteran Christian still pursuing truth and doing that? So
I think, it's so good you say that, because when you're growing up, your parents tell you, who you surround yourself with is who you'll become, and you kind of think like, oh, okay,
whatever.
But now that I've gotten to the point, it's so true. I had a teammate this year who ended up becoming one of my best friends.
Yeah.
Who was a really strong Christian, and that helped me so much this year, because we were able to just share fellowship after practice.
Yeah.
Building good habits together. And when you're around other people that do that, it's easier to want to dive into that, because you got other people with you.
Yeah, yeah.
And sure enough, you guys are sharing stories, and as crazy as life gets, the main picture, which is God, and that's the root of it.
Yeah.
And so it's easier to have those conversations.
question for you. Were you ever in high school or college a prodigal son? Meaning, did you ever go off the tracks a little bit like the rest of us, I mean, because some people will look at you, Kyle, and go, oh, you've been, you're a pro basketball player. Your life's perfect. You've never done anything wrong. And really, I know we're all sinners. We all fall short. And I'm not saying you have done things I've done, but what's that look like for you?
Yeah, I think the flesh wants what it wants, and figuring that out, the flesh and the Holy Spirit are two hard things. So I would say, I guess being vulnerable, like in college after games or whatever, you want to go out, you want to party with the guys, you want to share some drinks, you want to, whatever. You're in college, as much of an excuse as that is. Yeah. You're young, whatever it is. So I think the biggest thing for me was finding my relationship with alcohol as I've gotten to this point in my life. So when you talk about, struggles or making mistakes, it's a weird deceiver where that can be a blocker to want to have a drink, or whether it's hiding the divorce or you're not playing well or whatever it is. I had to find out this year that, hey, I at least got to find out my relationship with alcohol. So I decided not to drink the entire season, this season, my professional season, which also isn't a coincidence that was the closest I got to God as well.
Interesting.
And so when you get away from the flesh and you allow the Holy Spirit to work, as hard as it is, because there's a lot of sin in the world, and for whatever reason, our worldly bodies want what it wants.
Yes, they do.
And it's difficult at times, but yeah, I would say that was probably the one area that I just had to figure out where that played a role in my life.
Yeah. Dude, it's interesting. You're 25. I remember alcohol was a problem in my life early on too. I got married at 23, and my wife had to have some come to Jesus meetings with me. But alcohol had played a part of my life, and it definitely affects me more than I think. And what's interesting, show me your 5 friends and I'll show you what your life will be like.
Exactly.
The people that do drink, for me, have influence on my life.
Yeah.
And I'm a dude. I'm highly influenceable as well. And so I have to know in advance, like, yeah, that's not for me. I have some weaknesses in those areas. And so I just don't want to. As I get older, it's like, it doesn't bring joy in my life.
Yeah.
And so I think that's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that I have more joy. I have a better relationship with my wife. So yeah,
I think, and I still have a drink here and there, but it took me to understand, I think, my relationship with it, and it may not even be in the cards in the future. It just really may not be.
Yeah.
But I found with it is that if you don't get it in check, you can start making excuses for just about anything. Oh, the finals game is on tonight. We're going to golf. We're going to fish. And before you know it, you're like, okay, well, you could pretty much make up a reason to drink for just about anything. And it's become so normalized that that's what I'm kind of trying to figure out. And I think God will tell me if that's meant to be or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Good for you, man. Yeah. It's your, I like the verse that says, everything's permissible, but not everything's profitable. So I have 2 daughters, and we raise hey, you can do anything you want to do. God's love is unconditional. My love for you is unconditional.
Yeah.
Everything's permissible, but not everything's profitable. What do you want to do with that? And so early on, I would coach my daughters, you're free to do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But let me show you the consequence of that action.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you do certain things, you probably won't be living here long.
Yeah, very true.
So think about that, But I want them to really just think about that. And it sounds like to me, you being alone in Spain, you've had some time to think and journal and get along with God. Jeff told me that you won something while there. Tell me what you won while being your first year in Spain on a pro team.
What I won as far as games?
No, well,
because maybe he's confusing me.
Rookie of the year.
Oh, no. I didn't win Rookie of the Year, but I had led all incoming rookies in scoring this season.
Got it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it was. There was some story about rookie something.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
for a rookie, it was a great season.
Yeah. You led the rookies in the scoring.
Yeah.
What would be an average scoring game for you? What would you score?
Well, in college, my senior year, I averaged 17.
Come on. That's good.
Yeah, but every market professionally is going to be different. There's some countries where you can go out there and it's fast paced, it's quick, it's a lot of isolation.
Yeah.
Spain's very structured, very playing in a system, a lot of ball screens. So the scoring kind of goes down. So I had led us in scoring in rookies with just a little over 12 points per game.
Okay.
Which relatively, you go to different countries, that's not that many points.
Right.
But for this, this league and this market, that was pretty good. Is
that hard to maybe create? You're in a new system where you are playing differently. Is that interesting or hard or weird?
A lot of people struggle with it. I think my upbringing with basketball was so strong. I was so well coached, from my young AAU days with my coach, Tony Quatoriano, to Gary Burks, to, Mark Bulge and Travis Myers, all the way through college, which Barrett Peary at Portland State and Aaron Landon played huge roles in my life. But I'd always played in a structured system, always on coaches who knew how to play basketball rather than just up and down AAU basketball.
Yeah.
And so it was an easier adjustment for me. The physicality was much different. I mean, my matchups are 30, 32 years old for the most part, that are 9-year pros. So I had to adapt to that. But I tell people to this day, there's a few different rules in Europe. You can hit the ball out of the basket. You can't throw it in the backcourt. There's a few different rules, but the goal is still the same: score more than the other team.
Yeah.
And so I was able to kind of learn quickly, and I think that can be your biggest strength if you can adapt quick to the pro market in your first year, because your first 3 years you're trying to make a name for yourself.
Sure.
No one knows really who you are until
Kyle?
those first 3 years, and then they can be like, okay, now he's solidified himself as a pro. So these first 3 years are still going to be the hardest, but I feel like I learned quickly.
I like your humility, to be honest with you, because if you don't have humility, you're not going to be one to learn. You're like, hey, I know things.
For sure.
I played D1, blah, blah, blah. Question for you: what is one of the greatest lessons you ever learned from one of your awesome coaches? Do you have like a lesson like, hey, this is a lesson I will never forget?
Yeah, I got two.
Okay.
At Portland State, I came out of high school, and my head coach at Portland State, I learned how to battle some adversity there. And so as much as it took me a while to even earn a role to play at Portland State, I learned that things aren't always going to be sweet. Even if you're putting in the work and you're practicing hard, sometimes you got to find a role, even if it's not the role that you want. You got to be a star in it. So for me to be a Division I basketball player, I just came out off of averaging 28 in high school. But now at Portland State, they were like, Kyle, that ain't going to fly. You got to get offensive rebounds. You got to take charges. You got to hit open threes if you want to play here. And so the biggest strength that my Portland State coach gave me was just, it's not always going to be easy, and just how to kind of overcome adversity when you want to be somewhere, and you got to kind of humble yourself and play a role, because everyone has a role, even if you don't think that that's the role you should be playing. And it brought me to where I am now, just as far as understanding that and being able to take, when something's not going my way, being able to be emotionally steady with that and still have my eyes set on the bigger picture.
Yeah. And
so those 3 years were super difficult for me, but probably the three most impactful years to shape who I was, because I needed that at that point in my life. I needed that adversity. I needed to be challenged. And then I got to St. Martin's and played for Coach Aaron Landon. And he pushed me so hard all 3 years. I remember my first year, I think I averaged like 13 and a half points and 4.5 rebounds. And then my next year I averaged 15. and 5 rebounds. And he was like, Kyle, you need to go rebound the basketball. I'm like, Coach, I'm getting 5 a game. Like, is this like, he's like, you can do so much better. I know you can. And he challenged me every single day. He was coaching me so hard. And it got to the point where I was going home and I was like, does this guy not think I'm good? Like I feel like I'm at my max capacity of rebounding. Like I feel like I'm not this athletic guard, you know, I'm really not. So I'm like, 5's good. And then sure enough, day after day, my senior year, I'd go out and average 7 rebounds. And as a guard, I think I was 3rd in the entire conference, even with the big guys. And so to this day, I'm really close with him. And I said, I just tell him, thank you for challenging me and seeing something in me when I really didn't, because I didn't think it was possible. So being coachable is one of the biggest strengths that someone can have, because we always think that we can do it, you know, or think that we're our best when we're not. And sometimes you need someone in your ear that can kind of push you and get you that next level.
That's why we have coaches. Coaches see in you what you don't see in yourself.
Exactly.
And he saw something in you, and he challenged you. He wasn't saying you were no good.
Yeah.
He says you're better than you were performing.
Yeah.
And that's hard to hear sometimes. Well,
it is.
Well, hey, you're doing good.
Yeah.
But you can do even better.
Yeah.
I love that. I just, as a dad, I mean, you know, I love to challenge my daughters. I love to challenge the guys around me. I love to be challenged. One of my greatest desires is please challenge me, right?
Yeah.
In a positive way. Like even to my wife, where can I improve? What do I need to do to step up my game even more? It's a good place to be.
Absolutely.
So be coachable. I like that. Your takeaway for me was be coachable.
Yeah. Be coachable.
Okay. So you just finished up year 1. You're home for a little period of time. You're going back when?
The end of August.
August.
I'll go back to Spain.
Season kicks off when?
Oh, I mean, last year I had landed and we played our first game that first weekend. So it's different than college. In college, you kind of get a training camp. You get a couple months.
Yeah.
Pro, you better be in shape, because when you touch down, you probably got a game that first weekend, if not that next weekend.
What month? Was that September or was that August when you got there last year?
I got there in August. I think our first preseason game was that first week of September.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're signed on for another year.
Yep.
So this is a year-by-year contract?
Year by year, I would say week by week contract.
Week by week.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You sign a year contract, but you know, if it's different than college where, you know, there's more structure, you're going through a scholarship, you're going through a whole season. There's only one American position in Spain. So if you're not performing in that American position, it's not like, okay, we'll sit this out. It's like, okay, we'll get you a flight home. It's not like we'll wait for him to find his rhythm. Yeah.
Okay, so you have to perform.
Oh yeah, it's
performance based, man.
Yeah, it is. It
Kyle
really is.
Figure it out, man.
Yeah, but for the most part, it's year-to-year contracts.
Okay.
So this will be a new team this season, in a great situation. So
yeah,
it'll be a fun journey, because sometimes you stay with the same team a couple years, but for the most part, you're changing teams or you're going to different countries, and so it'll be a new adaptation, a new coach, a new culture, new team.
But you're in Spain still.
I'm still in Spain. Yeah.
Okay. Do you think you'll continue this pro career for a while? What does that look like?
Yeah, I had went into it. I told you before the show, but I was in a pretty serious relationship.
Yeah.
And I went into it like, okay, I want to live my childhood dream of at least going to play professional basketball, because I feel like I was selling myself short if I didn't. So at first I was like 1 year, and after I did it this year, and you know, realizing that that's what I really love to do, and the fact that I could do that for my job now, as long as it's God's plan, I want to play as long as possible.
10 years? What's a good run rate? Is it 10 years or so?
I would say if you play 5 years, it would be a good career.
Okay.
I think anytime you get 10 or more, I think that's like a really successful professional career. But again, the older I'm getting, sometimes you can't battle injuries, so you try to do your very best to take care of your body, to prepare for what you can. And as long as I can stay healthy, and if that's what God is calling, I want to play as long as possible.
That's good that you keep saying, if God is calling me, you're willing to say, okay, Lord, are we doing this? Are we not?
Yeah.
And you're willing to surrender to that. So really, in a way, the Christian life the faith life is really day by day.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
Today I'm playing. Tomorrow I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So, well, dude, this has been a lot of fun to have you on here.
Yeah.
I know that your mom and Jeff flew over to see you play.
Yep.
How long did they get to stay and watch? How many games did they get to watch? More than one?
So I'll tell you the biggest weakness of being a pro is there's one game a week.
Oh.
Which is terrible, especially
horrible.
over 9 months.
Oh, yeah.
Because in college, you play Thursday, Saturday. If you have a bad game Thursday, at least you can rebundle Friday.
Oh, yeah. You have to wait
Saturday,
a
ready
week
to go.
to redeem yourself.
Yeah, if you have a bad game out here, you got 7 days in between. So they just saw one game, but that was such a great experience. My sister had came up with my brother-in-law a month before that. They came out and watched the game. They were there for 4 or 5 days, and I think next year too. My dad's going to get out there. I think my brother wants to come. My sister, my mom will come again. And I think they use it as an excuse too, because everyone wants to do the Europe trip. You know,
Everybody,
do
man,
a cruise.
Heck, I want to go to the watch it play.
Yeah,
man.
get Italy, do Italy, whatever.
Yeah.
So I think I kind of give them an excuse to make that trip, but it ends up working out.
Yeah.
And it makes my life when they're able to come and do that though, because 9 months is a long time away. I don't care how old you get.
Don't care.
From family, away from family and friends. So when they're out there, it gives you a different pep in your step, especially when you're playing that game.
Yeah. My oldest daughter, Emily, she's a couple years older than you. She went to Europe. Well, she did a YWAM where I don't know if you know anything about Youth with a Mission.
I've heard of YWAM.
Yeah, you kind of do what's called DTS. You do a training for 3 months, and then you do outreach for 3 months. So she went to Australia for 3 months, trained, and then she went to Eastern Europe for 3 months. So we didn't see her for 6 months. I mean, nobody checked in.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a tough go, but she did it. And I mean, I think there's a lot of maturity that happens when you're away. Like, it's really you and God at that point in time, because mom and dad's not there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can go one way or the other. You could take it as I'm alone and I can do what I want now.
I'm free, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is not the answer. So yeah, it's such a great experience though. I didn't really know what to expect, but it really is fun. I love doing it. Even being away, I told you before the show.
Yeah.
It's very difficult, but even in those months, like when you get close to Christmas time and you just want to be home, but you're not, I'd be like, okay, well, I want to go home for a week and a half to see family. But then after that, I don't want to work a 9 to 5 yet. I'd be ready to get right back and go play. So this little 3-month period of seeing family, friends, working out, getting better at my weaknesses is kind of the perfect balance, because I'm sure by the end of August, I'll be ready to get back out there.
Totally. We're going to wrap up here in a few, but what do you do for a workout right now? You're here.
Yeah.
Who holds you accountable and to do those workouts? Or is it just you? And what do you do?
No, John Hildebrandt, Super Handles down in Dayton. He's got a great facility. I actually recommend any kid that wants to get better at ball handling, skills, athleticism, to reach out to him. I'm with him, and Coach Dean Sanderson at West has been great, just about opening up the gym, getting in there with a couple of their guys, a couple of college guys. Woodburn High School, I got a couple buddies, RJ and Tyke, that I'll be working out with. But yeah, and then also my sister's got a courthouse membership, so I lift there. But yeah, just making sure I'm getting 2 to 3 workouts in a day.
A day, 2 or 3 a day.
Yeah.
Holy crap,
Now,
man.
I took 3 weeks off when I first got back, and I recommend people do that after 9 months. But now that I'm in the swing of things again, it's important. And after my first season, you kind of have some weaknesses that you want to target, because that's the beauty about basketball, is you can never really reach a peak. You can always get better at something. And so that's how I'm trying to treat this off season, just still building good habits. I still want to get back up to my alma mater now, I guess, St. Martin's. Coach Landon and Coach Ty are great people, and will open up that gym and work me out up there. So
totally,
the access is there, which I'm very blessed for. But that drive's got to come within you still to want to get better. Even if someone opens up that gym for you, if you're not willing to want to get better, that really doesn't do much. It's just like,
help,
that's like having a gym membership that you pay for, but you don't go. It's like you got to make that choice to want to do it.
Yeah. What's your greatest strength out on the basketball court? What's your greatest weakness?
I think I think some people would say my biggest strength is scoring the basketball. But I would say my biggest strength is probably just my IQ and being able to read the game. The older I've gotten, the game slowed down for me, which is important because if it gets sped up, you can start making bad decisions. And so I think I'm able to read the game defensively and offensively and just know positioning. I even had, this new coach that I just signed for when we got on a video call. He said, Kyle, I've been recruiting you all season. We need your scoring this season. But he was like, the one thing that stood out to me was just your defense and your positioning, which for me, I'm not an athletic person. Like I tell people this too. I haven't dunked in a game since high school. So it's possible to make it without being some crazy athlete.
Yeah.
I understand footwork really well and how to get to my spot.
Yeah.
But I think your knowledge can take you farther than your skill sometimes if you're if you're a student of the game.
Yeah.
Now, my biggest weakness, probably just said it, I think becoming more athletic, which is what I'm really trying to hone on this summer, is just becoming more explosive, which will make it easier the farther, that I play professional and higher levels. You got to have a level of strength and physicality to you. So that's probably the one thing I want to match with a skill set is just the body and the physique to get there.
Yeah. I think you're very humble because you definitely you give yourself plenty of room where you need to improve. And I really like that though. I think that's the best way to be. Just, hey, there's always room to improve. No matter how good you think you are, there's always room to improve. There's always somebody better than you.
Exactly.
And so I like that. That's what drives me. Is like, I'm always chasing number one.
Yeah.
I'll never be number one, not even close. But you know what? I think it's dangerous to be number one.
Yeah.
Because, hey, I've arrived. Look at me. I think that's the beginning of the end, actually.
Complacency. Yeah,
Complacency will die.
Complacency and comparison is the thief of joy. Just like any industry, not even just sports, but that drive too should come because that's what you love to do.
Yeah.
But you got to remember someone's always trying to take your job, especially with one American position.
Come on.
There's a lot of guys out there that are trying to.
They're just dying for you to mess up, man. Yeah.
So you got to have that in your mind too when you're working hard, because I am at a competitive level now where, like I told you, it could be week to week, it could be 1 year, and they're trying to replace that next spot. So you gotta remember someone's always chasing you and trying to take your spot.
I love that, dude. That's good. I mean, I really like that. I just, I'm an old guy, super competitive. My brain says I'm 20. My body says, no, you're like 90.
Yeah.
And so I have this competition going on, but I have to be competitive in a way that I honestly can't work a full 8 hours doing what I used to do, or 10 hours.
Yeah.
I'm good for about 3 to 4, maybe.
Yeah.
And so I've had to modify, but I still have that competitive nature. And so I like hanging around with guys like you that are competitive. You're young.
Yeah.
You're exciting. And
it's easier to do too when, like I told you, because you do this podcast and you love it.
Yeah.
When you love what you do, it's a little bit easier
Totally.
to find that competitive nature and want to get better at that.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's difficult to be doing exactly what it is you love, but if you're blessed to be in that position, it's easier. Now I'm competitive with everything except golf. I've had to humble myself to the point where I got to just go out there and have fun.
That's funny. Yeah.
I'm in the thorn bushes, but it could be a fun time still.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I can't be competitive with.
Well, dude, I golf every week with my buddies. We've been doing it for probably 10 years. And you'd think my score would actually be getting better. Yeah. It's the same. It's 1 week it's decent, and 1 week it's not so decent.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm just thankful to be out there. Honestly, I'm so excited. I always say, hey, that's why I have a day job, because nobody's called me to go on tour to golf.
Not yet.
Not yet. Maybe one day, but well, dude, Kyle, this has been really a blast to hear your story. Super proud of you, man.
I appreciate
I know
that.
your mom and Jeff are super proud of your dad, your brother and sister, and I know that they love you. I feel it.
Yeah.
So
I love them too, and that's I'm close with every single person in my family, and the older I've gotten, as great as basketball is, that's kind of what makes life go round, is the relationships that you have.
Yeah.
And obviously putting God first, but I'll share or I'll end with one
Please,
thing
man,
that I read in Ecclesiastes 2 days ago, which was God's given us this ability to enjoy things in life, to be happy with certain things, whether you get a promotion in a job or becoming a professional athlete or whatever it is, we have that ability to feel happiness. But it just talks about chasing the wind and it being meaningless unless you have a root behind that, because essentially we all are born and we're going to die. And so as great as a gift as it is that God's given us to enjoy things in life, it really means nothing unless you have a purpose, and a belief in Jesus to get you through life. And so that's kind of what I try to live my life now by, and that mixed with just the great relationships I have with my family, those beat, playing basketball. When I thought that basketball would be my dream, which it is, and give me all this happiness, that's really the root of where that happiness comes from.
Well, basketball is what you do, but it's not who you are.
Exactly.
And I think, guys, I'll just confess my own sins. I'm a mortgage guy. I've been doing it for 27 years. And it wasn't until like year 21 or year 22. This is right when COVID began. I took a 40-day sabbatical. I'd never done that, ever. Like, I checked out. My team took over, and I realized they didn't really need me. My team they're really good. But it took that to realize I had made my profession in a way in my life, and I didn't even know it. And so I think a lot of guys struggle with, they make work their identity. And if you can recognize that up front, like, yeah, I love basketball. Cool. I will do my very best, but my identity is in Christ and Christ alone. And the priorities are Him, my family, and then basketball, it's down here. And I still love it, but it's not who I am, it's what I do.
It's not always easy.
Yeah.
But that is the answer. And with life, we try to do our very best just to continue to make Jesus number one. But life also puts a lot of roadblocks in the way, or Satan has a good way at deceiving you and to getting your eyes off of Jesus. So even though it's difficult, that's the one answer and the only way to life.
Yeah, yeah. If somebody wanted to reach out to you, Kyle, would that be okay? How would they get in touch with you if that were the case?
Yeah, just in general, Instagram, Greeley5, email. I don't know if you want me to put my phone number out here or
whatever you want to do. Just put it on here. I'll put it in the show notes and everything. But yeah, whatever's good for you is all good.
Yeah, probably Instagram.
Okay. Yeah, we'll leave that. If they want to reach out, they'll figure out how. Then you can connect from there. How's that?
Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah, I love meeting people, buddy. This has been great.
Yeah.
And by the way, you have the best name ever because you don't even need a nickname ever growing up. It's just Buddy.
Hey, trust me, I've been teased my whole life. Hey, what's your real name? Yeah, it's Buddy. I'm not sure what my parents were thinking, but I always say, have you ever heard of Kirby Puckett? So Kirby is a short black guy. He used to play for the Twins.
Okay.
So I always say, yeah, Kirby's my cousin. They go, what? No, Buddy is it's my legal name, Buddy James Puckett, and it's funny. It makes people laugh. I mean, so like literally, what's your real name? It's 100% of the time that's what people typically say. What's your real name? That's it. It's Buddy.
That's awesome. I love it.
Well, Kyle, I appreciate you being here. It's been a privilege to get to know you. Jeff's talked a lot about you. I love this. To me, I just never get tired of meeting people and hanging out. So I'll be praying for you.
Appreciate that.
And so you take off in, a month and a half or so. Wrap up with what the rest of the summer looks like, and then if there's any last comments from you.
Yeah, I think I'll go out and see my dad, which I haven't seen him in a while, and we'll spend 2 weeks up in Coeur d'Alene, and it's nice. He'll get me a gym membership out there, so I'll still be able to get my workouts in, but that'll just be great bonding time. As close as we are, we talk on the phone every single day. Being in person, golfing, around the campfire, whatever it is, will be really great for me. And then we go to Catalina with my mom and Jeff, and I'll bring my best friend Tyke on that trip, which will be a blast. And then wrap up, probably come back to Salem and really get serious about just getting into game shape before I fly out. So it'll be a fun summer with some trips. My brother is actually trying to convince me to come down to San Diego next week to spend some time. So I'll try to do that. But he'll be coming up with my dad too. So that bonding time will be really special. Yeah. And just honing in on the relationships with family and friends as much as I can. And then at the end of August, I'll be ready to get out of here.
Yeah. Well, I love to hear that Caleb was recently married. And,
Yeah.
I love when men figure out, marriage is hard, by the way.
Yeah.
And when you choose to finally go, you know what, that's the lady I'm going to spend my life with, I think it's really cool. So I don't know Caleb, but I think it's cool that he got married. That's pretty cool.
It's really cool. And she's a great woman. They both have Christ first, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And one thing I'll say about my brother is he really is my best friend to this day.
Yeah.
And we did not get along growing up. Like I told you, he would say I'm the most annoying kid ever. And especially through the divorce, we didn't lean on each other. I was a kid with a bunch of energy and annoying, and he kind of had to grow up quick and be there for my mom and grow up, essentially really quick when I didn't yet.
Yeah.
And so we couldn't see eye to eye until we got to college, and our relationship over the last 5 or 6 years has become so special. And so, shout out to you, Caleb, because it's your siblings, and especially with my sister too. If you can be close with them, you need that. As great as a relationship as you have with your mom or your dad, you need your brother, you need your sister going through life.
Yeah,
so to be really close with him and my sister is super special to me.
Well, dude, shout out to you, man. I really appreciate you, Kyle. Thank you for being here this week. Man, if this has impacted you, please share it with somebody. I mean, I do this because I really love to have conversation with people, men and women, but specifically guys. I'm a man's man, hopefully, and I need to be accountable, and I love to be around guys who like to be accountable, like Kyle. But if this has impacted you, please share it with people. If you ever want to be on the podcast, I'd love to have a conversation with you as well. And just reach out. All my information is in the show notes. And we love you. Kyle, we love you, man. And good luck on your playing this year and all that you do.
I appreciate it, buddy. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. See you next week. Thank you.